Next time I'll get it right, but for now I'll stay right here where I belong.
You have an amazing opportunity, young generation, to rise above and be proud of the choices you're making, and get out of a codependent culture and be responsible for you and work harder in your life than anyone else ever will.
What do you want? What do you want out of your life? Where do you want to go? If no one else will fight, I'll be the one. I'll be the one to step into their world. I'll be the one to walk with them.
And I mean it more than you'll ever know.
Some people will ghost you. Well, then maybe they're not real friends. At some point in time in your life, you are gonna have to come face to face with yourself.
Next time I'm getting it right. Will you believe me if I say this is the last time?
And then she points at me and she goes, there's greatness inside of you. Sometimes we need people to believe things for us until we can believe it for ourselves. Because I look at what I'm doing now and it's not lining up with what they said I couldn't do. And now I'm doing everything that people said I couldn't do. Because now I travel the world and I share my story.
Next time I'll get it right, but for now I'll stay right here where I belong.
And by the time I was 26, I was sitting in 30-day inpatient treatment for alcohol. My family wanted nothing to do with me, couldn't hold a job. I was codependent, all because I thought I could get away with it. I should probably have about 10 DUIs, I only have 2. My last one was June 24th, 2010. That was the DUI that changed my life.
For it to hurt more, to stay the same. When I get through this storm, I'll find it on my own. And I'll mean it more than you'll ever know.
And so I'm going to talk about connection and belonging. We're looking for a place to belong where someone can come out and say, hey, we want you here. I want you here. We want you around. We say we live in such a connected world. If that's the case, if we really say we're more connected, then why is everybody more depressed?
There's no dumb kid. There's no worthless kid. There's only kids that have been starved of love and have been wounded so badly they're just looking for a place to lay. We can't change the history, but we can help shape their future.
Next time I'm getting it right.
Take one thing that you want to focus on to overcome in your life. Take one thing at a time and walk through the process. The process is only a process if one stays in it. If you don't stay in the process, then it's no longer a process.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pure Purpose Podcast. Delight to be here with you. I hope you have really been enjoying all the episodes we've been doing. I've again, I'm going to say I've had such an amazing time doing all this stuff. So we're going to jump right into this today. I feel like this keeps coming up in so many circles, so I'm just going to talk about it. And so today we're going to focus on how to work through conflict. How do we have something that happens between us and another person, or us and many people, and how do we get through that? I do believe we live in a world today where we just try to write each other off, and all of a sudden people are just like, well, you wronged me, so I'm going to run from you. And if you go to the episode last week, right, when I talk a lot about, or a couple weeks ago, when I talk about love and how that is, and how and love is patient, love is kind, and different things, it knows no wrong. And so we have to get to a place where we start understanding conflict. Okay, we have to be able to work through conflict. A lot of the stuff that happens with you and other people, when you get to the place that you can start working through, that's when your world will really start changing. Matter of fact, not long ago, I had a situation happen. Someone approached me about something that happened last year, and I was able to sit down with this person and talk about we both didn't actually come to each other and talk about the situation. I kind of had my assumptions, they had their assumptions, and we just let it sit. Well, finally, it kind of came to a head, and the person came and asked to talk to me, so we sat down, and it was an amazing conversation of what actually happens when someone can sit down and work through conflict. And what happens is if you don't actually go to the person and talk to them, if you just go behind their back and gossip about them and try to get people to change their mind about them, I've talked about this a lot on this podcast. If you just do that, you're gonna have this same problem in many relationships. A lot of the lessons that we need to learn, a lot of us will run from those lessons. There may be some things that are happening and you get to a place where it just gets too hard and you run. And then you go on to the next situation or the next relationship or whatever it may be, and then you start seeing the same problems that you had in the previous one. Well, it's because you didn't actually get the lesson that was trying to be taught the first time. And so you're going to see it again. You're going to have to circle around the mountain until you actually go through and start charging forward head on through it and be able to handle whatever conflict may come your way. We think that running from a conflict will stop the conflict in the future. That's not true. It won't. We will not stop the conflict in the future if we don't learn the lesson and what we have in front of us. And so we have to learn how to work through conflict. We have to learn that when conflict arises, and this actually isn't from me, my pastor said this one time, and I don't know who he got it from, but when there's conflict, that's an amazing opportunity to put down roots. It's an amazing opportunity to sit in a place to say, you know what, I'm not going to run from this. I'm going to take this head on, because when I get through this, I'm going to be stronger on the other side, and the relationship that took the damage is going to be stronger on the other end. And so we need to learn how to work through conflict. We need to learn that we cannot run from every single hard thing that happens. I know that social media today is very big on, well, they did you wrong, so write them off. And they're going to regret not being with you on this journey, and they're going to regret anything that they did, so I'm going to get revenge on them. And sure, you can do that. That's going to be your prerogative, right? You have an opportunity to do that. But I can tell you that it's going to be a very lonely life in the long run if you don't learn to handle conflict. The one thing that I know to be true is, for the rest of your life, you're never not going to have to deal with people. People will always be around. People are in your everyday life. You're around people for the most part every waking moment. And so being able to actually deal with people instead of just having it go through like a bull in a china shop with every single person that's around you or in your life, you will actually learn a lot of tools and a lot of navigation through life just by dealing with the relationships that you have around you. Okay? We have to start getting to a place where we say, I'm going to be the bigger person and I'm going to learn what it means to handle conflict in a healthy way. Does that mean that it's always going to be able to be handled that way? No, it doesn't. There's going to be many people that aren't interested in healthy conflict. There's going to be a lot of people that won't be interested in conflict whatsoever. They're just going to run from it. And again, you can, but you're not going to learn anything that way. And so as we continue to shape ourselves, and as we continue to learn about life, and we continue to learn different tools that we need to walk through life in a really powerful and amazing way, we're going to have to learn how to handle conflict. You cannot run from conflict, okay? You're going to get in a really, really dark place if you decide that anytime something happens that you got to start running. I would not recommend that. That is not going to be wise to do, okay? And especially in the young generation. I'm not saying it's just in the young generation, it's everywhere, okay? But in the young generation, if you're listening to this, I want you to understand that one of your biggest weapons that you're going to be able to use going forward and as you grow up is you're going to be able to figure out, okay, if I can get through conflict, because you guys deal more with people now than probably a lot of different generations. Young generation deals with a lot of different people. And you see so many different ethnicities and so many different nationalities because of social media, for one. Okay. Every single app out there is dealing with connecting with people. And so if you can learn how to handle conflict, and some of it's going to be amazing. Okay. Some of it, you'll be able to handle it well. It's going to restore the relationships that maybe have been broken. It's going to be able to keep the ones that you want to keep around, right? And some you'll just maybe able to repair it, but you decide we're not going to be friends. And that's okay too. That'll be one of your biggest weapons to use to become a powerful person. Okay, we have to learn to be powerful people. We have to learn that we can get to a place where a powerful person says, that conflict did not feel good. I don't even like how I was treated in that conflict. I don't even like how that conflict brought out the worst in me. That conflict actually made me not become my best self. But I want to handle this conflict in a way that I feel that I can sleep at night and I'm going to feel good in my heart and my conscience about how we got through it. Okay? We don't talk enough about the right things. We don't talk about what actually needs to happen. We want to skip the processes of life. I see that everywhere that I go, we always want to skip the processes of life, and we wonder why we're being shortchanged in every single chapter of our life. It's because we're skipping the processes. You're going to have to learn to handle conflict. You're going to have to learn what your negative cycles are and how you act when things don't go your way and how you act when you get hurt. We're going to have to learn these things, because if we don't learn them, one, you will keep repeating the same lesson over and over and over again. And it will just be a different face every single time. The person won't change, okay? The face, it'll be the same people, but the face will just be different. The name will be different, but it will be all of a sudden you'll start looking and you'll look at your track record of conflict and you'll realize, gosh, I don't handle conflict very well. I know many people that run from conflict. I know many people that when it comes down to it, they hate conflict. And so it's easier just to say yes the whole time or avoid it altogether. And I understand conflict's not fun, right? No one likes having problems with people, right? No one likes that. It's not a good time. Like, we don't wake up every morning like, oh man, I can't wait till I have some problems with people today, right? We don't do that. No one wants to do that. But the reality is we're all flawed. We're all human beings, that we all have hurts and we all have different values and different beliefs, different wants, different needs. And so when we're dealing with different people, everyone being different, we're going to bump up against each other. And we have to get to the place where we understand, no matter what is bumped in us, that we always have to look inside, because if you're not good at conflict, that means you have some pain inside. It all comes back to what I've been talking about in this whole podcast. It's the pain that you've experienced in your life that either causes you to be really good at conflict or really bad at conflict. Okay? And I just really get so hurt. My heart gets hurt when I look at people that don't know how to handle conflict. I look at people and I see like the image that you are creating, the story that you're creating in your head about what may have happened with the person. And I've done this. We all have, right? We've all done it. At the end of the day, it's part of life. You're dealing with different people. Different people don't want their beliefs bumped. Different people don't want to change. I understand that. Okay. But at the end of the day, it hurts my heart when there's a conflict that I see. Matter of fact, last year I had a situation where there was two kids that I was dealing with at one of my schools, and they had a situation happen between the two that was very hurtful to both. And one of them came to me about it. And of course, you always want to get every side of the story because one person is going to have their perspective, the other person is going to have their perspective. And they always say there's a truth, right? So there's about 3 different perspectives to each situation that happens. Okay. And the one person came to me and I said, let's go sit down with them. And so I went to the other person and I said, hey, would you be open to doing this? And they said, yeah, I would. I go, okay, I don't want y'all to talk to each other for a week. And next week when I get back, because I believe it was towards the tail end of what I had going on, the next week when I got back, we sat down. And I said, all right, we've had time to let emotion wear off, okay? We've had time to think about our part in it and the other person's part, okay? So let's sit down and talk this out. And they were able to sit down and talk it out. And I was really proud of them because they were working through the hard things. And a lot of it was assumption and judgment. One thing was said here, and this person took it here and ran with it. And then this person said this. And so it just kind of got twisted over a period of time. But they were able to talk it out. They were able to clean up the mess and say, I'm sorry if I hurt you. And they both did it. And I really felt in my heart that it was sincere. And I was like, man, this is good. Like, I love this. But they also did make a decision. And the decision that they made was that we're going to take a break from each other right now. As of right now, we're probably not going to be the best of friends. And honestly, me sitting there and watching them work that out, I was like, man, that's good. I'm okay with that. And they were okay with it. Because even though you can restore the situation, right? And let me just say, when it comes to conflict, if you go to rebuild that and you restore the situation, it doesn't mean that it's going to be right back to where it was before that situation happened. But what it can mean is I'm going to go to sleep with a clear conscience. And this restoration is for me. And if both parties come in like that, we're going to resolve this conflict. We may not be friends after this. We can agree to disagree. If we agree, awesome. That means we both were able to see our parts in that. But if we don't, that's okay. As long as I know that I'm cleaning up what happened with you and I'm sweeping my side of the street, as long as I know that, then from that point forward, I'll be okay, even if it doesn't end up being a friendship situation. And we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay that it may not be of the end in a way that we would hope. And sometimes a situation that calls for whatever happens, sometimes that situation calls for you to be in a position where you say, I love you. I'm willing to make amends with you. But I'm going to tell you this right now. That for me was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm sorry I cannot continue a relationship with you. And that's okay. Because just because something happened and you repaired that and you've forgiven and you've worked through it doesn't mean that you have to forget what happened, okay? You can actually have an opinion to say, I just don't think I can go back into that. And I've been in those situations. I've been in those situations where you can't go back into certain things, and that's okay. But you know what? We sat down and we talked about it. And as long as I know that my heart is clear from the things that I did in that, and the responsibility that I take for the part that I played, if I can do that, no matter the outcome or the result, I will be okay. These last few minutes here in this podcast, I want to just encourage you all to look at any conflicts that you may have in your life, whether it be small or big. I don't care what it is. And I want you to assess those and think, man, have I cleaned up my mess? Have I acknowledged the point of damage that I created in that? And am I able to go back in and talk to this person about that? When it comes to cleaning up a mess and when it comes to working through conflict, you have to go in with your pride and your ego completely checked at the door. Okay? Matter of fact, the situation that I was talking about a little bit ago with the person that came to me about a situation last year, one of the things that I told them was, I said, honestly, if I'm going to be real with you, by that time and that point in the year, there had already been a lot of things that had happened. And I didn't know if my heart was going to be clear. And so I didn't know if I was going to be able to handle that situation in a way that kept my character intact. And I never want to be in a situation where my character can be questioned. Some people will question your character because of just that's maybe where they're at. But that doesn't mean your character is in question. Okay? And if you can get to a place where you continue to build your identity and know who you are, when your character is questioned, it's not going to throw you off and knock you off your foundation. Okay? But that's what I said. I said I didn't know if my heart was going to be clear, so I had to go a different way with it. Yes, I believe if there's conflict, I need to go to the person. I believe that. I'm the first one to say that. But in that situation, there's times where if your heart's not going to be clear, if your emotions haven't dialed it down, you need to step back from that situation. And you need to put up any type of guardrails or boundaries that you can so you don't make that situation worse for you or them. Okay? If you're going to go and handle healthy conflict, you have to make sure that your heart is clear, that your emotions aren't running on high, and that you are very, very genuine in what you are about to do and take the necessary steps to clean up that mess. If we all just said, you know what, any conflict that comes to me from here on, I'm going to handle it right away and not let it grow, not let this scenario take place in my head or their head, not let judgments and assumptions form, not build evidence against that person, but I'm going to take it head on. We're going to go talk about this before this grows. We will get through our relationship conflicts with such grace, and we will be stronger in our relationships, and we will be stronger just in our everyday lives. I mean, we can get to a place, I believe we can get to a place that we all take responsibility for the part that we played in things. And I believe conflict will literally just be a little hurdle that we can step over. And it won't be a big roadblock that helps cause more trust issues and more damage and more pain in relationships, so we can move closer to people, not further away. You're going to be okay. I'm with you in this. I promise you, the journey of life is not always easy, but it's always worth it. Continue to live whole and live a full life. Continue working through hard things, because I believe you can do those things. And I believe you can be proud of the choices you're making and the person you're becoming. Keep climbing. I'm with you. There's so much gold inside of you that's going to help you live the greatness outside of you. I'm with you. See you next time.
Next time